Megan, yours has like pictures. Yours is like a full-on. Here's a fuller portrait of Megan Kinna, the influential lacrosse standout from Maple Ridge.
Hey.
Yeah, I think you read this. As
Just
like
you want me to just
intro.
read this word for word?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think you should say after. By the way, that's not.
This message was presented by artificial intelligence.
Oh, hang on. There's a summary. Let's see. In sum, Megan Kinna stands out as a multi-talented athlete, coach, and advocate. Her journey from playing with the boys in BC to collegiate stardom, international medals, and coaching underscores her dedication. But it's her openness about mental health and her efforts to coach and uplift others that truly define her influence in the lacrosse world.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Could be worse. Drop the mic.
She dropped my mic drop. She didn't say a word.
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing it for you.
Influence.
I'm
Yes.
pretty sure I have like a public what is that? There's
Wikipedia.
Not a Wikipedia.
Like a famous person's
no,
thing.
Like I made a school project in like 8th grade, and
Yeah.
it was like in order to get this like sponsorship, whatever, and it's out there still, and it's my lacrosse journey, and it's like one of those ones where you go through and I don't know how to.
This is when
describe
you
it.
were in 8th grade?
Slideshow?
8th grade slideshow.
I wonder
It's
how.
on Google, so
Oh,
don't look at it.
okay. Maybe I'll.
Why would you give us
I
that
don't know.
information?
Maybe I'll Google that at some point
Hey,
here.
Please don't Google this, but this is where you
This
find
is
it.
where it just maybe chat found it.
Maybe I'm sure.
I don't
I mean, it gives all of its sources here. They're all over the place. So, yeah. All right. Well, we're back. Welcome back to Morning Shootaround, everybody. As you've already been able to tell, Megan Kinna is our guest on episode 15 of Morning Shootaround. After quick bye week, some downtime for the guys. Christian Del Bianco, man who built the place, Tyler Pace. Megan, before we get into our discussion, I figured I should check in with you guys quickly because there were some people that were pretty disappointed that they didn't get to hear your guys' voices last week. Delbs, how have you been hanging in there without the podcast for a week?
Yeah, just working a lot. It's kind of life after NLL and a little bit more reality. But I was talking to Frank Shiglano on the way here, and we're joking. It's like he has a newborn, and I have 2 dogs, and I'm like, man, I can barely do this with 2 dogs. Like, I can't imagine how you play summer ball with a kid and have a job and do all of that. So never mind, have a podcast with Tino on Tuesday nights.
Just with me. Only name drops me.
Yeah.
Well, you don't
Suck
even
it.
introduce yourself.
All right, Tyler.
Yeah, we got a trip to Denver this weekend with our high school team, so just trying to get all that stuff organized, figuring out all the flight stuff, the hotels, making sure all our I's are dotted, T's are crossed, so that there's as few hiccups as possible. There's always a couple, regardless of how well you plan and prepare, but we try to make it as little frustration and as much success when we go on these trips as possible. So no, it's good. We're just, I don't know, the summer is upon us. We're like a week away from this. What is it? Summer solstice? Is that what it's called?
Sure.
Summer solstice. Why
Why are you looking at me like I would know?
Yeah,
what that is?
that's true. Where summer actually like is officially the summer, and it just feels like it's zipping by. Like I was saying this the other day, like January, February felt like forever, and then May felt like it didn't even happen. So it's just ridiculous how fast it's going, and we're in the full swing of lacrosse season in the WLA, and one of us is doing really well, and the other one is
We're 500.
500.
Won my first game back in the WA the other night. Took me a bit.
Took him a while.
Yeah, and who you talking? The Senior C Barrards are doing pretty good too.
Senior C
Who are you
Barrage.
talking about?
Yeah, how's your team doing? And talk a little bit about your goggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting it pretty good last weekend. It was my 3rd time playing with them. Genuinely, they make such a difference. I only see one ball again, which is a huge welcomed change. Yeah, so I can catch again, which is really nice. But yeah, this was I was like joking before our game this past weekend that I was like, I've played 2 games with them and nobody aside from like my own team has made fun of me for them yet. Like, what's going on here? And I've also been noticing like some guys on other teams like, hey, that guy wears glasses too. Like one of us kind of thing. And then
It's
we
like the
played
kid across the bus stop.
Brother. He's like, brother.
and then then we played Mission this weekend and They were giving it to me pretty good. Apparently, there's a guy on my team who went up to one of the other glasses wearers on one of these other teams, and he was like trying to tell him like, "Hey, see the guy on our team with God, like go get him, like go say something." And the guy like didn't. He just like wouldn't come up to me.
What position do you play? I don't even think I've asked.
I don't know if they have positions in senior C.
Up, down, off.
Up, down, and off.
Is it?
No, it's
fresh
not.
five. Fresh
Yeah,
five.
fresh
this
five.
way.
Although we had like 14 guys this past weekend, so it was like kind of everybody playing everybody. But I don't really cross center that much anymore.
The last thing I
You
will
got it.
say about Tino, like, did it feel like limitless, like Bradley Cooper? Like you were just like, I'm faster, I'm stronger, I can see.
No,
better
because
now.
I still have bad cardio. I can just see really well.
Yeah, I guess.
Are they called goggles or rec specs?
Well, I think like if you look up rec specs, you'll probably see the ones that like the old basketball player Horace Grant wore.
Is that like a brand? Is that like a Ray-Ban kind of thing?
Good question.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's a good question.
I'll look that up at some point.
I feel like
I just
I just smoked them.
smoked.
I'm just gonna go with goggles because they like suction cup to my eyes. Like at the end of the game, like I look like I have raccoon eyes because I have like the indents. Looks ridiculous.
Does it fog up? Like I remember when you put them on in here, they were getting foggy for like you had them on for 4 seconds and they were foggy.
Yeah, actually not as bad as you would think. The big adjustment for me is like if I'm on the bench like after a shift and I go to like wipe sweat out of my eyes, I like forget that they're there. So I'm just like I just like
Are
poke
they
the
like
lenses.
pool goggles where sometimes you gotta get like a little bit of water on them for them to suction
Suction
your
in, yeah.
face?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Man.
It's don't knock it till you try it. I will say, if you need glasses, hit me up. I'll send you the link. Okay, Megan, let's get into our guest here. Megan Kinna. I don't know if we were recording when we were going down the Chat GPT intros that we came up with for the three of you. But Megan, I want to get you to like start kind of from the beginning of your lacrosse days, like when you were a kid. Like how old were you when you first started playing, and like what were the earliest memories for you playing lacrosse?
I was 4 years old when I started playing. My brother played before me, so I kind of followed in his footsteps. And some of my favorite memories would be like in the backyard with my brother and trying to, do air gates. Didn't work out too well. It was pretty short back then, or still short, but anyway. Just trying to mimic some of those like players that I looked up to, and I looked up to a lot of male players because I played guys lacrosse growing up. And yeah, it was fun.
Do you remember when you first found out that women's specific lacrosse was a thing? And like obviously not like women's teams playing box, but like the I don't know, different version, like women's field lacrosse. Do you remember how old you were, or like what that moment was like for you when you found out that was a thing?
Yeah, I remember I was 12 and I was watching a Northwestern versus Navy game, and I thought like Northwestern's on the lake, so there's like Lake Michigan, I think it's on. I should probably know that, but it's on a lake, and I thought it was Navy's campus because it was still an N, but just
Well, there's
because
water
Navy,
there, it
there's
makes
water.
sense. Yeah,
It's like it all
logical
ties together.
thinker.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was my first like introduction into watching women's field lacrosse and seeing some of those players, and then from there kind of joined into the female side of things.
That's kind of crazy that like the first time you ever watched a women's game was also the school you ended up going to. Like, is that like it? You watch the game, you're like, yeah, I want to go to that place. It's on a lake, and that's Navy, but I actually want to go. Like, is that like when you watch that game, you're like, I want to go play there, and then just did the work to get there?
I didn't really think about like going to college at all when I was first starting to play women's field. I was just having fun. I actually fucking hated it at first because it was like a tennis racket, playing with a tennis racket versus a normal pocket, but not normal, but you know what I mean.
So do you think there was like, do you remember feeling any kind of hesitation to joining or trying women's field because it was so different than what you were used to at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it was like there was no hitting, there was no pocket again, and like I don't know, it just wasn't good. There was no checking, like you can't empty stick check, so it was just a huge adjustment to join in.
Did you get lots of like infractions
Yeah.
in your early
You're
days?
Oh yeah. I
A
was
bully
just a
bully
menace.
ball.
Yeah.
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 How
Detroit
old were
Pistons.
you?
My
Did-
nickname is the Goon.
the, that's like
Goon.
Tino. That's
It-
Tino's
Oh
nickname.
really?
It's true.
No
Yeah,
way.
that's what they call me.
Yeah.
Actively, like they still call you.
No.
when did you when was it at 12? Like you transitioned into the women's game,
Yeah.
and you had been playing boys since how old? 4 or 5?
4. Yeah.
4 years old. So like you get like were you kind of like forced into it based on like the boys getting bigger, faster, stronger, or was it more like I just want to play with my girlfriends? Like how did that? Why did you switch?
It was cause like yeah, at that point like the guys started to get a bit bigger and taller and stronger, and I was like genuinely so short when I was growing up, so it was not a good size comparison for sure. I remember getting like clocked a couple times and hit absolutely seeing stars and stuff like that. So it was time to make the switch, and yeah, I think I played like in grade 10 again with the guys field lacrosse, but that was it. Yeah.
Thought you were raising your mic. So I feel like this kind of might be like picking a favorite child kind of thing. But now in present day, like you've had a lot of success in both versions of lacrosse that you play in. Do you have like is box still your preferred, or has it kind of flipped back and forth?
Yeah, box is still my favorite.
Do you get many opportunities like still in present? Obviously, like a lot of your training that you do and a lot of the videos that you promote, it's oftentimes you like with a women's field stick. Like, do you get many opportunities to play box? I mean, obviously, we'll talk about the Worlds in 2024, but like, how often are you using your box stick?
A decent amount. I'd say like it depends on the season, but right now like I kind of took a little hiatus after box World Cup this past fall. So there's a season going on right now, the women's senior league. But yeah, that's a league that I could join into anytime. I actually texted my friend Savannah today to join in again, so I'm gonna continue break off my hiatus and continue to go.
Everybody's fired up. Like the players on our team are like, hell yeah. Everybody else is like, fuck.
It's like it's like Jordan coming back
Yeah.
for the Bulls.
Yeah.
The girl showing up with the Team Canada
Yeah.
gear.
Yeah, it's just
Man.
Yeah. I thought she was done with this.
like, and how's like the flip flopping back and forth from girls field to box and switching the sticks? Like, how good does it feel going back to a stick that has a pocket, like creativity wise and all of that, or do you feel like it's kind of pretty similar abilities?
It's a bit different actually with like the girls field stick is just like there's a bit more whip to it and like a bit more hold actually, which is surprising. Like if you get a good pocket in there, you can actually hold the ball pretty well and do some dangles and stuff like that. So I actually don't mind the field stick. It's almost like I wish I could use my field stick sometimes in the box setting.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know, like just that hold is unmatched, honestly.
So do you think if I used a women's field stick in my senior C league, do you think that I have a better chance of crossing center?
Yeah, Tino, if you're not getting bullied now,
He's got a Megan Kinna pocket stick.
yeah, which
With
one's
his rec
Tino?
specs on.
The one with the girls field lacrosse stick and
Yeah.
glasses.
Guys,
That's
give me the
Tino.
ball.
Tino, we could cut the mesh out of your stick. It might not change your game.
Yeah. Yeah.
In present day, like you're a ton of different things. Like you're a pro athlete, you're a sponsored athlete, you're an influencer, you're a coach. Like the list feels like it goes kind of on and on. Was there a specific moment that you can point to where you had the thought to yourself that, hey, like this can be my full-time career. Like I can do lacrosse on a full-time basis?
Yeah, I used to work at an assisted living site, which is like a old folks place, and I was had a desk job in the back and just working on sad things sometimes. Like when people pass away, I had to like log that and stuff, which was really horrible. But anyway, so I used to work there, and it was quite depressing, honestly. So I had the thought, and I was like, okay, like there's people that are doing influencing for left, right, and center things, like random things, like weightlifting and all that. So I can definitely do this with lacrosse. Like, why not? And I don't think anyone else is really doing this at this moment. So let's just full send. So I quit my job, emailed my boss. I was like, I'm out. Like, this is time to go. So yeah.
How long? Like, I think I saw not that recently, but like relatively recently, you posted. It was like a year. It was like 1 year from, I don't know when you posted, maybe a couple months ago, and it was like your growth went from like 1,000 followers to like 15,000 followers. Like how much time, energy, like effort goes into that kind of a social media presence where like you're constantly posting like day after day after day, all this different stuff, the content, the editing that goes into it. Like how difficult has it been? Or is it like easy because it's just you're doing your thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing, so it's really, it's not easy, but it's enjoyable and something that actually like I can take my time to do and edit videos and be able to post things every day pretty much. So yeah, it's something that is fun for me, so it's not like a drag to be making content.
There must be parts. I mean, like, full disclosure to everybody, like you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, like very briefly, but there must be points where it has to get a little scary in the sense of like, month to month, you have to make sure you're bringing enough income for your expenses, like for you to be able to live, kind of thing. And you're solely relying on yourself. It's not like you're working for somebody. You show up to work and they provide you a paycheck. Like whatever money you make is solely on you. That must get kind of scary at times, no?
It's a little intense sometimes, yeah, but I'm definitely trying to like make sure that if I make enough 1 month or make a lot 1 month, then put some aside and then pull from that if I need to, which I've had to do in the past month. So yeah. Yeah, no, just coaching allows me to be able to make enough income really to be able to do this. So I'm thankful for that.
Kind of touched on it a couple questions ago about how you represented Canada at the 2024 World Box Championships back in September. You've represented Canada a bunch of times now. How many times have you played for Team Canada throughout your career so far?
I think it's 6 or 7 times.
Is that good, Tyler?
Is that good?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I would imagine that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, generally representing your country is probably always an unbelievable feeling that not that many people get to experience. But I would also imagine the first time you got to do it was probably like mind blowing. I would think. Like, what do you remember about the first time that you got to put on a Team Canada jersey or go to a tryout? Like, what was that first experience like?
Yeah, it was 2015 when I first got to do that, and it was so much fun. We like went through like a 10-day tryout process and like down in the States and traveled to like Syracuse and a bunch of different places and played so many games. I can't even remember like how many, but it was a lot. And yeah, having gone through that tryout process and then getting selected for the U19 women's team was really amazing, and it was alongside some of my best friends like Selena Lasota back in the day. And yeah, we won that year too. We beat the Americans for the first time ever that Canada's ever done. So yeah, that was a really special feeling.
Is that the first ever, like all time?
Yeah, for
Winning?
women's. Yeah.
Like still?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if
Oh,
it was
sorry.
the first
no,
time. Like,
sorry. We beat them again in 2022 in sixes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was
But in field, in like
in field, full
real
field.
That's
yeah,
the only.
that's the only win.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many golds do you have?
For world
Yeah.
championships, 2.
Not a big deal. I got 3 President's Cups, but who's counting?
You.
yeah, you're the one.
You're the one counting. I'm pretty sure there's a photo of you holding up 3 fingers. So what's you counting?
Yeah. True.
I was only able to hold up 2.
Yeah.
Going back to the 2024 Worlds, it was the first time that women were like they women's box was in the World Championships. I mean, we'll go into the tournament here in a sec, but do you remember when you found out that this was a possibility, that there was a chance you were going to be able to represent Canada again, but this time like in between the boards?
I can't remember a specific time, but it was, I think, like a few years prior, and like it was just an amazing feeling to be able to have that thought and be like, oh my God, this is the game that I grew up playing. So this is so exciting. I can't wait to, at least try and make the team.
Did it did it have a different feel than, I don't know, like any excitement that you would have going into like a traditional Team Canada tryout where you're playing field? This time you're going in for a box tryout. Like, was there a different feel, like a different level of excitement or a different vibe or anything
Yeah, definitely. It was
for everybody, not just you? Like, there was a different vibe in the entire environment.
yeah, it was just like a pure excitement. Like, oh my God, like this is actually happening. Like, holy shit.
I also couldn't believe the showing you guys had for the Western tryout.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many girls were there exactly, but I'm going to pull a random number, probably 80 to 100.
Yep.
Tried out in the West. And then after that, they narrowed it down. And then you guys flew to Ontario and did another tryout. So it was like quite the process narrowing it down. And I think the cool part of like that first week of camp was it had like a bunch of the girls that were younger, kind of looking up to some of the older girls. And they get to go to a tryout, experience it, kind of see what it's like. And then maybe 5 years from now, those other girls are now our Team Canada players. So
Yeah, it's cool. And I guess from an outsider's perspective, I wasn't at the tournament nor at the tryouts. Just not that good. But you guys like wallpapered most of the competition. Like the games were so obnoxiously like one-sided until you got to the finals.
Mhm.
Like from my point of view, it was like the Canada USA game because that game was exhilarating. It's like that game should have just been like a series between Canada and the USA, and then everybody else plays in like a different pool. But what is that tournament like for you? Kind of knowing that you're just going to go in and kill whoever is in front of you, unless it's the Americans, or was it like just a build up? Like we're just building up for that, and when we get there, we'll see who's like that's the real test. Like what is the preparation or anticipation for each of those lesser quality games, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's like definitely we're trying to build up to the Americans, but like as you saw,
it's hard.
the score
It's
was
hard when you
really
don't have
hard.
like
Yeah.
real competition to build up to it. I think that's something with like the pool system that they had that they maybe could have done better. So you guys, like in the men's, we played Team USA, we played the Haudenosaunee, right? Like that could have been different, but I guess first year trying to grow it. But
Yeah.
I could
Is
see
what
the
it is.
struggles that would cause.
But you're also, I mean, like we talked about this with when Eli Salama was on as well. Like the role of the powerhouse nations in these tournaments, like Canada, the U.S., and the Haudenosaunee to a certain extent, is like, yes, you have a job to do. Like you're there to win a gold medal, but you are also there like tasked with kind of growing the game. So like you guys were doing like joint practices and stuff like that. I remember seeing pictures of you guys like practicing with Japan at different points and stuff like that. So is that kind of a tough thing to balance? When I might have actually asked Eli this a similar question. Like, is it a tough thing to balance when you're focusing on the task at hand of you guys trying to win another medal, but you also you also are given the role of kind of coaching or instructing or growing the game to a certain extent?
Yeah, it's hard because you want to be able to like teach everyone everything that you can, but again, you have to prepare for like that final game, and you have to have the right mindset going into that. But it's really tricky because you're also being, happy go lucky and be like, here we go, let's enjoy this game and whatever. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
What do you remember about that gold medal game? Because like Tyler already said, like the atmosphere was crazy. Like that, I was pretty fortunate enough to be able to be like watching, like attending in person. And I just thought, I don't know, that was one of the crazier sporting events that I think I had ever been a part of. Like the intensity was through the roof. Like the USA fans and parents were going crazy. And then it was like when Canada finally started to find their footing because the USA got the jump early, it was like now it was like the two fan bases are like trying to cheer over top of each other. It was just unbelievable. Like, what do you remember about that final game? Obviously, USA ends up they obviously end up winning the gold medal, but what do you remember about the experience and the environment of the final?
Yeah, it was so intense. Like you said, it was just like crowd was going nuts. Everyone, it was just a different pace than obviously we had played up to that point. So it was really hard. It was like, fuck, like I just wish we could have like prepared a little better. That's like what is going through your mind a bit, especially when they start to get up and it's like, okay.
That's the hard part of those one and dones, right? Like even NLL prior, right? The first round of playoffs, stuff like that. And then obviously the World's format, like you have that slow first 5 minute start. And then even if you 50-50 the rest of the game, it's obviously not enough to win. And I kind of remember the men's team, we had to go warm up on one of the other floors and we're kind of just like looking at the TVs and some of the bars upstairs and stuff like that, trying to see what's going on. And obviously we kind of got the news as we were leaving the floor and kind of heartbreaking, but it's crazy just to see how intense that game was, the atmosphere. And then obviously for some of the guys just watching the girls' games throughout the weekend, like watching you guys play. I couldn't even pull out a team that you guys were playing. Can't remember one, but when it's like a 23-goal deficit, it's like, this isn't very entertaining. And then watching the first 3/4 of that game, how intense it was pretty cool, pretty crazy.
Yeah. I remember like this is another thing I think I told you a couple of weeks ago or whatever, but I remember watching that final, and Dana Dobie scored this dunk goal from behind the net, and it was like in the like the heat of the moment, and when like Canada was like mounting their comeback, I almost started crying. I was like so fired up watching this happen, and like Captain Canada, like it was such a cool goal. Like I don't know, I was so like taken away by the whole environment. I thought it was just incredible.
She's so sick.
Yeah.
Like she's
sick hands.
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
You know who else
Reminds me of
was
another Dobie.
just crazy was I think Brooklyn Walker Welsh,
Yeah.
UNC girl.
Yeah.
Like she came off the bench on one play and just blew somebody up and like scoops and goes, and it was like
So sick.
that's a dog play. like we were all like, oh my god, like that's like TSN turning point. We were all freaking out. So like they make some pretty impressive plays out there,
Sure.
and obviously when it's at that stage with kind of what's on the line, like every little thing is so intense.
Totally. And I think it was Mackie who made this point originally, but like after I heard her say it, like I wholeheartedly agree with it, that while like being Canadian, of course, like it would have been like we're all cheering for Canada to win that game, like that would be the ideal. I think for like the growth of lacrosse, the US winning the gold medal there, I think was super important. And especially I think you see like after the game, there's like
Boo.
there's like all
Boo.
these
What?
little girls going and like getting autographs kind of thing. And it's like one of those moments of, like now we're seeing this younger generation seeing the American women win a gold medal at the first ever women's box championship. Like I think that's going to be huge for the women's game in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you do need sports. Like if a sport is going to blow up, it kind of, unless it's like cricket, it kind of needs to blow up in America. Like they're like so sports hungry. Like they invest as much money as they can into sports. Like you see what the consumer is willing to put into it. Like football, it like runs America basically. So
It took a day away from the church.
yeah, like if there's any, like if that's what every sport is trying to catch up to, then they need to engage the American market. And yeah, like I don't necessarily disagree with that, but boo.
Yeah.
Like we want Canada to win.
Thanks for booing my line of
Yeah.
questioning.
It will kind of make like a redeem team though. Like when it happens again, kind of
Yeah.
Team Canada will be
Yeah.
firing all the cylinders.
I also want to ask you about like another game from that tournament. And it was one of the ones that me and Mackie were on the call for. It was Canada versus the Netherlands. We were joking throughout that game a ton because like I think the final score in that game was like 33-2 or something, like a complete blowout. But the Netherlands like fans and parents and stuff, like that was like the most electric environment aside from the gold medal game, where like these Netherlands fans, they're like throwing their fedoras and they're dancing in the crowd and they're losing by 20. And I mean, they do.
My favorite part of that game was the Netherlands scores the first goal against Team Canada ever. The coach bangs a timeout just so they have more time to celebrate.
That's
They
sick.
weren't done celebrating yet, just bangs a timeout.
That's so good.
Still pumping up the crowd. I was like, that's ridiculous.
It was so funny from like our vantage point, because like we're up in the booth, so we're looking across and like the Canadian fans are on this side and the Netherlands fans are on this side. And like for a while, like the Netherlands fans, even when it was 0-0 and also when it was like 20-1, are like partying, like they're having the time of their life. And at first, like the Canadian fans were just like focusing on the game, and they're cheering for goals and they're cheering for like plays and stuff like that. And then like as the game got closer and closer to the end, when it's like even more of a blowout than ever, and the Netherlands fans are dancing more than ever, some of the Canadian fans are dancing more, and like the Canada
That
baby
was
is
my
being,
family. That was
being
literally
held.
my brother's baby.
Yeah.
It was so funny to watch
Yeah.
from our perspective. Okay, well, I want moving on from the Canada stuff and from the World Box Tournament. You're somebody, like we mentioned in the intro. There's a lot of talk of like advocacy, and you're somebody that's been very open and forthcoming with your previous struggles with mental health. And like dating back to your days at Northwestern University, and you've kind of become an advocate for, I mean, people in general, but specifically athletes and kind of the struggle that maybe feels like at times they're going through on their own. I don't know if you're comfortable telling that whole story, or if you even want to tell that whole story. But I would love to hear like how you found yourself taking on this role of advocate for this kind of important topic.
Yeah. I can tell the whole story if you want.
Go for it.
It's a long one. So yeah, get ready. No. Sorry.
Buckle up,
I get-
folks.
I get awkward.
I'm sorry, it's a
Um,
serious topic.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
That's uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It was at Northwestern, and I had started dealing with some like kind of suicidal ideation. So in like my junior year, I kind of was just imagining these things and thinking, you know, I'd be better off not here anymore. So, yeah, I seek some help there, but it didn't really like click with me. I didn't really find anyone that was really, you know, there for me. So I kind of was dealing with it on my own, and my senior year came around, COVID hit, and I went home and was, you know, everyone was kind of a mess at that point. So I got my 5th year to go back to Northwestern, take my master's degree in a program that I was like dreaming of taking for like my whole career at Northwestern. It was like my dream program. It was my 5th year. Everything was going so great. And then season starts. I don't play the first game, or sorry, I do play the first game. I just don't start, and something like in my brain just pretty much clicked, and I like had a mental health crisis pretty much. I had panic attacks at practices the next couple of days. I was not feeling anything like myself, and then I started feeling like super good for some reason. So I started feeling like super high on this like really great wave of like emotion, and I had some like crazy things happen. Like I thought, you know, I ate a grapefruit for the first time, ate a grapefruit, and it like tasted like the first time I'd ever like had a grapefruit before. It was just like the best taste ever. It was like super weird.
Like hallucinating.
Yeah. So I was like kind of hallucinating at that point, and went out to like the lake and like thought the waves were like coming at me. So it was like super weird. Weird things were going on, and so I stopped attending practices, stopped going to class, and pretty much just isolated myself in my apartment. And at that point, like I just hit like the worst depression I have ever felt in my entire life. Like again, suicidal ideation going on, and then at that point, like I also thought like it was crazy, but my brain was like, oh yeah, like the FBI is fucking after me, and like it was nuts. But I basically went crazy, and I thought like either there was only option was like the FBI is gonna come get me, I'm super depressed, I can't like function anymore, or I just huck myself off the side of my balcony, and like that's my only way out. So my parents luckily like FaceTimed me, and they called me and brought me out of this like super wild thing that was going on. But they sorry, they called 911. We called 911 together, and then the ambulance came and picked me up and brought me to the hospital, and that's where I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So yeah, it was super intense, and I spent like a week in the hospital. My parents flew. It was during COVID again, so my parents like flew across the country, came and picked me up, and then we drove like 48 hours across the country and back home. So, and then we had to isolate for a while. Sorry, this is a long story. I told you.
Oh, of course.
Okay. And isolated for a while, and then finally figured out like a kind of a dosage of medication that worked out for me. And yeah, it was like 8 months of like that kind of still like a depressive vibe, and then kind of manic at the same time. So like thinking random things were going on, or like people were after me, and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where everything started. And then from there, I got back into lacrosse and got back into the swing of life again after like a solid 8 months of recovery. And yeah, that's why I kind of do what I do.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you went through that. Like, that sucks a lot. But I guess the positive thing that comes out of that is that like you're not the only one that goes through this, and now you're like I don't want to say like the spokesperson, but as far as our sport is concerned, I can't think of other people who are as open and honest about this type of stuff. And so it's always nice, especially for young girls that might be going through the same thing. You're like a big time role model to them, and this is a big piece of it. So to know, I guess, what you were in, and then to come out of it on this side of it as like positive as you have is pretty incredible. And I know just from the girls that come in here, when I see them coaching or when I see you coaching them, the things that their parents have to say, what you're doing for young athletes, but young girls in particular is pretty amazing. So thank you for sharing. And again, sorry that you had to deal with that, but what that has done now is pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Do you like, was there like, what was the process like, do you think, for you? I don't know if comfortable is the right word to use, but I'm going to use it for like lack of a better term. Like, what was the process for you to eventually become comfortable with talking about this so openly? I would kind of think that not necessarily that you would feel like ashamed about it in the early stages, but I would almost think that you would be kind of anxious to bring this up. Like, how did you eventually get to this point where you do feel comfortable speaking on the topic and speaking about your experience?
I think like the first kind of thing that clicked for me was I was reading like a post online, and it was like, I remember this girl's name for some reason, but her name is Gwen Schwem or something. And she posted online and was just pretty much like, something's got to change within the NCAA, and something's got to, we need to create some kind of catalyst and some kind of movement to create something that is different, because this is like a really bad thing that's happening within the NCAA, and there's a lot of people that are struggling, but no one really talks about it. So that's kind of how I started. That's like the first instance that I remember of being like, hey, like, okay, like I've gone through some pretty fucked up shit. Like, I can probably speak on this, and yeah, it's going to be scary, but like, is anyone else doing this, or is it just me? Or like, what's going on? So yeah, I posted like a video in 2022 maybe of like my story, and was just bawling the whole time. It was like 10 minutes long, but now like I've finally come to a point, I look back at those videos and it's like, okay, like I can speak now and get a little teary-eyed, but I can kind of get it out and share a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I obviously never went to university, but a lot of these kids that kind of, I don't want to say kids because sometimes your fourth or fifth year away at school, it's a lot, right? It's a lot to be away from your family. You're in a different city. And then, like you said, throughout COVID, and then you have all these other things going on, and you don't really have that support group that you normally rely on, right? And I don't think you only just see it with university. Sometimes you see it with kids who go down to prep schools in the States, and they're playing lacrosse, which is something they love, or they're playing hockey, which is something they love, but they kind of don't have that same group that's with them and those people to talk through when you're having those thoughts. And it's a lot. And I think it takes people like you that are brave enough to talk about it. And like you said, there's some tears shed, but like you understand that's okay. Like it's okay to cry through it and kind of show your emotion and show what it means to you. And I think it makes other people feel more comfortable, because for every person that is talking about it, there's probably another 15 or 20 that are just kind of hiding and trying to pretend everything's okay.
It's also like it's tough too. Like this NIL thing, I feel like makes things a little tougher. But even you talk about like scholarships, there's like another layer of pressure that you're feeling, because it's like you have like the school investing in you, or you have donors investing in you, and it's like if you're not performing, like she mentioned, didn't start in the game. Like I remember when I was at Denver, my first game ever as a Denver player, I was on the second line midfield, and Denver like rolls 3 lines of midfield at that time, so I'm getting like lots of minutes. But I called home after the game and I was like, Mom, I'm coming home. Like this is ridiculous. Like I'm on this scholarship, like I should be playing. I feel kind of like I'm just wasting, like it's just a waste. Like it's a hard thing to balance when you're 18, 19 years old, even 23, 24 years old, doesn't matter. It's a hard thing to balance when you have like this, you've been working your whole life for this and you get this scholarship and people believe in you, and then you feel like you're kind of letting them down in a sense. And then it just starts to snowball from there.
Yeah, I think performance anxiety in sports can kind of be like a thief of joy, right? And I think you get to this point where so much of your identity is like, for me, I found right at the junior level, like is being the kid that was good at lacrosse, right? And then it's kind of like, well, what happens if I no longer have that, right? And I think the older you get, the more you kind of start to diversify the things that bring joy in your life. But at a young age, when you're kind of in this competitive mindset of like trying to be one of the best players and trying to do this and trying to do that, and then you have a couple bad games or things aren't going kind of how they normally go, and you've never kind of hit this adversity, it's really hard to kind of get that same joy out of something that you love so much.
And I would say, like, as much as there are points about that story that are probably traumatizing and kind of negative, something that's positive that has come out of that is, you mentioned how you kind of fell in love with the game of lacrosse again. And since then, like, you've gone on to do so many like unbelievable things. We've already talked about all the different like world events that you've played in. You've played in a couple of PLL events as well. Like, you've been able to travel the world, do all these crazy things. Like, what was that kind of process like for you of falling back in love with the game that you originally fell in love with as a child, and then kind of go through that brief moment where you're without it?
Yeah, I mean, I first off, like, I thought I lost lacrosse forever. That's like one thing I remember like writing down and being like, oh my God, like it's gone pretty much. I am never gonna be able to play again. And that's kind of what was going through my head during those like 8 months of just depression. So, um, being able to, I went and coached first off, like in Penticton. My parents live up there, so I was coaching some of the younger, like a U11 team, helping out with them, and I was still like kind of not well. So I remember like uh I used to take everything like super literally. So like if someone says like, "Oh, we're gonna lose," like I would just feel that in like my gut, and it would feel just like they're like attacking me almost, like okay, whatever. But yeah, so I remember one practice, and like one of the girls was like, "Oh, we're totally gonna lose this game," like yada yada yada. And then I was just feeling like so atrocious, and I just started to have like a full on panic attack again. And like it was crazy because like little things like that would just be able to set me off. But anyway, uh once I was coaching, I kind of had some opportunities to continue coaching. And then Scott Teeter, my Team Canada coach from 2015 and 2017, he called me one day, and I was coaching a camp. And he just mentioned like, "Hey, like, what's going on? Are you gonna play for, like, do you want to try out for the Sixes coming up in 2022?" This was in 2021 at the time, and he was really kind about it, whatever, and was just, I told him what had happened with me. And uh yeah, that's kind of how I've started to fall in love with the game again. And then we went into the 2022 World Games and won the World Cup there, so that was really exciting. And yeah, it just kind of all snowballed. But it started with coaching, and then playing again, and then training for tryouts, making the team, and then topped it off with winning, which was a blast.
In hindsight, do you, and obviously it all worked out, but going back, like let's say that you try out for Team Canada, you go through all that work, and then you don't make Team Canada.
Mhm.
Like, do you think that could have been like really bad for you at that moment?
I think I don't
Like you took
know.
a big risk, hey?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think it was just exciting to be able to, like, even have a stick in my hand again. Like, I slowly was feeling better and found the right medication, so things were not so scary all the time. So, yeah, I think it was definitely a little bit of a risk, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a big thing too that you didn't have that thought going into it. Like you weren't thinking, what happens if I don't make this team, right? Like I
Yeah.
think that's everyone kind of has that experience, right? Going to tryouts for anything, no matter kind of what level you're at, right? Is the doubt, right? So if you're going into it with that mindset of, hey, I'm just gonna go do this for myself, I'm gonna work hard and see what happens, and not thinking the negative thing like Tyler suggested.
Sorry, yeah.
You can kind
My
of see
bad.
his outlook on life. But I think that's a very common thing in sport, right? Like it's very hard to just kind of be positive all the time. And I think especially at the guys level, we definitely struggle with it. Like me and Tyler, and most guys that have played with us and know us, we're pretty negative people. And I say that laughing, but it's a hard thing, right? In sports when you're kind of, it's winning's everything and making the teams everything. And it can really change your outlook on the sport and how much joy you get out of it.
The medicine game, though.
Medicine game. It's gonna be a
Does it
lot of
again.
people that are gonna that's gonna be the takeaway, which I think is pretty cool. Like I feel like time and time again, there's just these stories where like involving lacrosse where people like come out of something and lacrosse is the common denominator. And while it's not necessarily like the main thing, it's oftentimes there in some regard. And I think that is so cool. Something that I've kind of always wanted to ask you, and like you guys are probably gonna laugh at me because I'm sort of relating it to like when I came out of junior a little bit. So just like hang on to your laughter for a sec. But I swear there's a question at the end of this. Something that I struggled with when I stopped playing junior lacrosse, stop Dubs, put the mic down, was was like a lack of structure like after I was done, because I was no longer like I had no aspirations of going on to play anything bigger. Like I went straight into just playing beer league. So like the lack of having a coach, the lack of having consistent practices, like that kind of structure, mentally I really struggled with that. And while that situation isn't necessarily the same for you because you are oftentimes training for something bigger coming up around the corner, there are times when you kind of have to motivate yourself. Like there maybe isn't necessarily something coming up on the calendar that you're actively training for, but you still have to keep up for the things that are in the kind of distant future. How have you tackled that, or what would your advice to people be that maybe also struggle with that lack of structure and have to rely on self-motivation to progress themselves?
Yeah. One thing that helps me is writing everything down first off, like having a plan. There's this one quote that's like, if you plan to, no, I forget it.
It's my favorite quote that I can't
Yeah,
remember.
It's a good
remember.
quote.
That's a great quote.
I'm so bad.
You
with
should have
it.
wrote that down.
I know, I should have. You're so
That's
Sorry,
a good
before we
one.
move on, I was gonna smoke you when you said one thing I struggled after junior. I was gonna say your sight.
Awesome.
Oh.
Okay. Thank God you didn't get me with
God
that.
stopped me. But
Okay. Back to
on
Megan.
about your favorite quote.
My favorite quote. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
There
Does
it
that
is.
make sense?
Yeah.
That does
Okay.
make sense.
There we go. Okay, that's it. That's the one.
That's the advice. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
blanket
the
advice.
No, but genuinely, like if you don't plan out what you're trying to do and really look forward ahead to the events that you have coming up, maybe they are in the distant future, but you can still plan out that kind of stuff. And one thing that's actually helped me too is like videotaping my workouts. Even though I post all of them or majority of them, like it holds me accountable almost. So being able to like take videos of my wall ball and then post it after, or do it my workouts and that kind of stuff, and then be able to post it after too, like it holds me accountable. At times it's like And I'm kind of realizing this like recently is like I want to do it for me also though, and not just do it for like the crowd that's watching. So I've kind of taken like a little break from posting in the last couple days, and yeah, just trying to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think burnout is part of it, right? When you
Yeah.
go so hard for so long and you're doing is lacrosse, right? And playing and playing and playing. It's kind of that you hit that wall sometimes. But I think one thing about like the filming, like you're suggesting, is like you're watching what you're doing. So
Yeah,
like
true.
if you did slack, you're watching the tape and you're like, this doesn't look nearly as good
Yeah.
as 2 days ago.
Film doesn't lie.
Yeah, that's like something like, to be honest, like getting traded to Van this year and then playing that first game, and I was like, man, I was like, thank God I played good. Like I think I played really good. And then T-Rich sent me the film and like a couple notes, and I was like, oh my, I'm terrible. I was like thinking after, thank God everything hit me. Like, so film does not lie.
Except Tom Schreiber's shot.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
not the first one. It did hit me. It did hit
Yeah,
me.
true.
Oh my God. Okay. Do you guys have anything else specifically for Megan before, like, we can wrap things up here pretty quick? There's like a couple more topics, not necessarily Megan specific, that I'd like to bring up. But if you guys have anything else,
Well, I'm wearing the swag. I think maybe Megan, you're probably the best ambassador to speak on what Helix Lacrosse Club is.
Yeah, Helix Lacrosse Club. It is a sixes formatted lacrosse club. So we are trying to come together with a bunch of teams and create an atmosphere where Olympic lacrosse is thriving in BC. So we are trying to really try and create some teams and yeah, hopeful for the future of these younger children that can hopefully play in the Olympics one day. So trying to generate some sixes stuff.
Yeah, we've got August. We're doing a sixes league in August. We've kind of run, like PCL's run a sixes thing in the summer every year, but Megan kind of brought this idea in front of me, and kind of a little collaboration here, trying to get the sixes game growing, obviously ahead of the Olympics, like Megan said. And for me, it's like, why would I try to do this without Megan if there's an opportunity to do it with Megan, and having her be, as we've obviously talked about here, like one of the main ambassadors of not only women's lacrosse, but lacrosse in general. Someone who's played and won at that sixes level at the highest level, and now being able to kind of try to give back and like she said, try to get some players. If there's ever one player who comes through our program and ends up at the Olympics, like it'd be the proudest moment probably of my days, and I'm sure of Megan's days. But yeah, it's super cool to have this opportunity. So if you're interested, come check us out. Helix Lacrosse Club. Hope to see you there.
that also must be another like crazy thought, in that like going through your career, you start off like playing women's lacrosse. So you first find out about it at like the age of 12, and then that progresses to you earning a scholarship, and then that progresses to you eventually playing for Team Canada at different world events. And now like you've played professionally, you're an influencer and all this kind of stuff. And now there's like the possibility of you being an Olympian in the future, like knock on wood kind of thing. Certainly nothing's guaranteed, but the idea that is a real possibility must just be an outrageous thought. Like what's that like for you?
I mean, to have something that you never thought would even be a reality and now it is so cool. And especially like even if I think back to like pro stuff too, like that was never a reality before like 2020, I want to say. So having that be something that you can strive towards and something that you can look forward to is just, it's exceptional.
Yeah, I think random question, but if you were to say your favorite player to watch, your favorite coach you've ever played for, and then your favorite player you've ever played with.
Oh,
Those three very random kind of.
okay. My favorite player to watch would be Izzy Skane. She's unreal.
BC?
No, Northwestern. She went to Northwestern. Yep.
Northwestern.
Good job, Tyler.
Favorite coach, Pat Coyle.
Nice.
Nice.
Goat. Yep.
Nice.
And
Has to be
then-
fired up about that, eh?
And then favorite player to play with was the last one.
Yeah.
Dana Dobie.
Goat.
The goat. Yep.
Can you describe, like, so you told me this the other week when we were recording the breakdown. That's another thing we should talk about. You've dabbled into broadcasting a little bit.
Yeah.
But when we were recording that last episode a couple of weeks ago, I asked you, like, what is it about Pat Coyle that people love playing for him? Because I've heard these two talk about it a little bit, and I wanted to hear your perspective as well. Can you reiterate what your reasoning was as to why Pat Coyle is your favorite coach?
I pretty much just said he's like hilarious, but also intense. Like you can joke around with him, but at the same time, like he means fucking business, and he's gonna get the job done, and he means like he wants to win at all costs.
When did he coach you?
And I was Team BC nationals in like 2012, 2013.
So it was like a brief stint. He made like that much of an impact
Yeah.
in like a short period of time.
Yeah, love him. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome.
He's a beauty.
Yeah.
And he does, like, the older we are now, and like the more it's kind of separated from that player coach relationship to, like, it's like a little bit we're friends now. Like every chance he gets to like throw some sort of sarcastic jab or make
I was
fun of me
always
for
friends with
saying
him.
water's wet. Yeah. See me and Tyler early on. There was
No,
there was a strict
friendship.
line between I'm your coach. We can somewhat be friends, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
yeah.
What about, would you have an answer to those 3 questions?
I don't know if I should. What are they? Favorite player
Favorite
to watch?
player to watch, favorite coach you've ever played for, and then favorite player you've ever played with.
Favorite player to watch. Zach Courier.
Sick player.
Favorite player to play with. I don't know. I would put Delbs in the category just because we're like such good buddies in the carpools and we win a lot together. Wes Berg is probably on that just because he's on my right side with me
Yeah.
and he's like the best.
He's just like a bigger, stronger
yeah,
version of you.
he's sick at it.
He's just a
Yeah.
freak.
Yeah, Curtis is probably up there as well. Like, again, just another guy that plays on my side who I've learned a lot from in my career. And then favorite coach, I don't know. I'll probably say Bill Tierney is probably my favorite coach. And it's like not necessarily like a coaching X's and O's rationale. Like he would be on the field like scrolling Twitter because he just had so much trust in his assistant coaches. And Coach Brown is
He has
like
Twitter.
oh yeah, I'll just like scroll, but he's like a genius at like hiring a staff around him who are like geniuses in their own right. Like Coach Brown, who he's probably up in that top echelon for me as well. But Coach T, like if you ever wanted to go talk to him about anything that was going on in your life, he had like all the wisdom in the world. He was like Master Yoda, basically. He was like the general he was like a leader of men, basically, is how I would describe him. And yeah, till the day I die, I'll probably say Coach Tierney's like the best coach on and off the field that I've ever had. He's just an incredible human being.
Good question, Delbs.
Yeah, wow.
How about you? Dwight Metke.
No, favorite player to watch, I would say Jesse King.
Okay.
That or Zach. Zach's a pretty big freak. The other guy I would say that I'm a fan of watching right now is Ryan Smith.
Yeah.
Like just kind of, he's just a huge human.
Yeah.
Going downhill, and he kind of is such a deceptive shooter. So big fan of his game and watching him. I'd say one of the favorite guys I've ever played with would probably be Curtis Manning.
Man,
Like just kind of not so much from he was a dominant player. Like I'm not saying he wasn't really good, but just kind of everyone on the defense stood a little taller when he was out there. He kind of just like brought everyone's game up, was such a sick teammate, and he was just kind of that old school grit. So I'd say him. And then for coach, I'm gonna go Slip, just because
All right.
I'm probably the closest with him.
Yeah.
I probably spend about 3 hours a week talking to the guy, but it also avoids me having to pick between Kurt and Pat. So
Bob McMahon. Slip. Bob McMahon.
The
He's
man.
The man.
he's like you said, he's like the old head that just kind of half the time he's talking to you about lacrosse, other times he's just giving you life advice.
Yeah.
You know where the name Slip comes from? Like, why?
No idea.
Yeah. My mom calls him Einstein. Just
That's If you're like
Like,
who's
who's
this Slip
Einstein
guy
on the
It's the
bench?
Einstein looking guy on the bench.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
mom's like, that's the guy you talk to all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I was like, yeah. That's Einstein.
How about you, Tino?
You want to know my
Favorite player to watch?
That would be
Yeah, favorite player to watch. Favorite coach? Shout out.
player to watch? I would say Ian McKay. Big fan of Ian McKay. Favorite coach? I had this guy Mike Goodrich in junior. He's just a huge beauty. We were a terrible team, but he was just loved to hang out with the guys.
Good person.
What was the last question?
Favorite teammate?
Yeah.
Favorite teammate. Ooh.
Favorite guy to play with, I guess.
Yeah. I still play with him actually, but his name's Charlie Sahlstrom. There's some people that might know who he is. He coached me a year in junior. I might have played a year with him as well, but I've played on his senior C team with him for, I don't know, however long I started playing. He's just like awesome guy, like the best guy to be around. And I know like it's like kind of a joke as a senior C, but defense is so easy when he's on the floor because he's like the best communicator in history.
He's the Curtis Manning.
I never have to think about where I need to go.
He knows you can't see, so he just communicates to his sonar. Tino, you have to open. There's a guy coming.
I
communicates with sonar. That's so good.
golfed with him last week. Shot the round of my life, 8 over par. Never gotten anywhere close than that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Thank you.
He knows a stick.
That's pretty good. That was
Thank you for saying that.
You shot an 80?
It was at Cedar Ridge, and they have 3 holes that are closed down. So that's why I don't tell you a score, because the score is going to sound like different. But considering what par was in the circumstances, I shot 8 over par.
Fair enough. That's fine.
God.
Megan, do you have any questions for us?
Oh.
Anything goes, really. But if you don't, we just put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
Yeah. Wait, I'm the interviewer now?
Yeah, we usually just ask Tino stuff when we
okay.
forget what to do.
You said you had a couple other line items.
Yeah, well, this came out a couple of weeks ago before we did the Tyler Johnston interview, that the future considerations part of the Warriors Calgary trade got officially released. So Aiden Walsh is now officially a member of the Calgary Roughnecks. Ethan Ticehurst comes over to Vancouver. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up with you guys, because I saw Commissioner Frood was doing some PLL content over the weekend, so it kind of jogged my memory of has there been any update on CBA stuff in the NLL?
No, my understanding is the Players Association has met with them, and they're kind of going through stuff, and it's probably too early at a point to really side either way. But to be honest, at this point, I haven't heard any alarm bells being rung, which is kind of refreshing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a call
Lacrosse.
tonight that I wasn't able to be on. Yeah, so I can probably give you some updates there. The Ethan Ticehurst Walsh news. I don't know if we talked about this when.
Yeah, it was kind of the worst kept.
It was the worst kept
which is
secret.
kind of unfortunate for both the players, but they're both first class people, handled it so well, kind of knowing what was going on. And obviously Welsh, for my personal situation, what a great teammate. I come in there and obviously kind of put him in a tough situation, and there was kind of just the right amount of awkwardness I found the first weekend there, because it was kind of the situation where if he was just so happy-go-lucky, I would kind of be like, well, did you really care that you weren't playing? But there's obviously he was a little upset, and I think that just showed that he cared. And obviously as the weekend kind of went on and the following weeks, he kind of turned the corner, and he's just was universally loved in that dressing room as a teammate. Obviously as a player, he had a great year there and the year prior. So I think everybody within that organization will be rooting for him moving forward, just with how professional he was and just how big of a beauty he is off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Ethan, another carpooligan, bites the dust here. We're down to just myself and Eli in the carpooligans group chat, which is not fun. But
Ice never really drove anyways.
No, but he was part of the crew. He was the guy that we just make fun of in the car.
Eli
he was the punching bag.
Yeah, me and Tyler would drive because we had trucks. Eli was logistics. Tice just got verbally abused.
Yeah.
He was Tino.
I was going to say he was me.
It's Tino.
Yeah, kind of.
Strengthened up one of us.
Yeah.
Except you actually have to do stuff.
But yeah, it was
Does
tough.
Everything.
Yeah.
This is the polar opposite.
Ty does more than I do, realistically.
It was.
I just have a microphone.
He's our work truck.
It was definitely a tough thing for him to deal with when it first came out, and he kind of wanted to talk to me a little bit about it. This sucks. How do I approach this? Whatever. And I was like, man, it's it's not the worst thing to like you could have been traded to Georgia. Like, not that they're a bad team, but that would suck to have to fly from here to Georgia every weekend. He's like, yeah, that's true. So, wishing him all the best, obviously, and it sucks that we lose him, but we get a goalie to solve a problem that we may have coming up here.
And then the last point before we wrap things up here, the glare I'm getting from Ty right now that I'm not one more thing, I promise. Teddy was the one that tweeted about this. And I mean, I probably should have known this, but I didn't really realize it. The Minto Cup, the Founders Cup, and then what's the third one? The World Championships are all at the same time. I'm sorry that I forgot something.
Remembers the Founders.
Yeah. All three of those tournaments going down over the same span of days in this coming August, which seems absolutely outrageous. I don't know, like from my experience, the Minto has always been immediately following the Founders, and then it's like the Prezi and then the Man, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight as to why this has worked out this way?
I'm going to assume there's a logistical issue just with guys going back to universities. And I don't know, maybe the solution was shortening junior season or doing something along that lines, because obviously we want the best players at the Minto Cup, and obviously we want the best players representing Canada. So there's an issue there, and I think it's easy for us to sit on the couch literally and say, well, you should have just done this, but there's going to be some hard decisions for players, and I think at the end of the day, they have to do kind of what their heart says, and whatever that is, whatever the best decision is for them, that's what they should do, right? There's going to be pressure from obviously Lacrosse Canada and some of their junior clubs to side with whoever from competitive advantage, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with it.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of BS that this is what it is. Like, it's lacrosse. This is like ultimate lacrosse getting in lacrosse's way, and you're making like a 19-year-old kid make a decision that, like, it's a lose-lose. Like, you either miss the Minto Cup or you miss the World Championship. Either way, somebody's really pissed off, and it's like a really tough thing to make a kid have to decide, and like make them decide it pretty quickly. Like, they host the camp, they make their announcements of who's going to be on the team, and then it's like, well, if my team's not really having a chance to win the Minto, it's an easy decision. But if my team's going to be competing for the Minto Cup, which in general, some of the top players in Canada are on those top junior teams, and those top junior teams are what they are because of the players they have on their team. So like, you're going to run into a problem here where some guys are missing Worlds, some guys are missing the Minto, and like neither one of them is getting the best. I think it's just
one point
bad.
I will add, like, if you're a junior team and you are out of the picture and you have a guy who's about to make Team Canada, the first call I'm making is, where do you want to go? Like, I'll trade you to whatever team you want to go. Try to get a return on your investment, not return on investment because you get their kids, but try to get some draft capital back and try to give the kid a chance to go to the Minto, because if a kid is on kind of the fourth to last team or third to last team, he's probably making that decision that, yes, the logical thing is to go play Team Canada. Where if he gets shipped to contender like St. Catharines or Coquitlam or Okotoks, maybe his decision-making changes.
Sure, but I also think, like, on the flip side of that is the guys that are on those like Minto Cup contending teams who get selected for Team Canada. Like, if they agree to play for Team Canada, what's stopping their junior team from just shipping them? So now they're like potentially giving up maybe they have another year left. I think they all have at least 1 year left of junior, and they could in theory get shipped to a team that they're going to have to go back and play junior for next year, which is not their hometown team or not the team they want to play for. So they give up an opportunity to play for their hometown team to go play for Team Canada and then never get to play for that hometown team again.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the situations, though, where lacrosse has to get out of the way of lacrosse and do what's best for the kid. Like, if that's what the kid wants to do, that's what the kid should do. You know what I'm saying? You can't say, well, if you don't play for us in the Minto Cup, we're trading you. So you're going to threaten a kid out of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Probably not, right? But I think it should be the same way with Lacrosse Canada, that if a kid decides to go to the Minto Cup, it shouldn't be, well, now that you've done this, we're never going to invite you to a camp again.
Right, which, yeah, I mean, I think
It's
as
a
much
gong
as
show.
it's like
a gong
as
show.
much as it's like you say don't do that if you're an adult, don't do that to a kid, but in reality, like everybody wants to win. Winner, like you're just trying to win, and both of those people are going to say if you don't do this, then this, and that's a big problem that we're going to face here. Like this sucks.
Crazy.
Okay, that feels like a pretty good note to wrap up again. Heated Tyler. Getting the face all red again. Megan, before we do wrap up, I want to give you an opportunity to kind of plug whatever it is that you got coming up. Like if people want to work with you, or like where can they find you? How do they get a hold of you? And any
put your phone
projects-
number.
or like any camps or projects that you have coming up.
Yeah, they can train with me right behind here, right here. PC.
That's right.
What is this place called again?
This one's easy to remember. You don't have to write it down.
Yeah.
Everything's the same.
So bad.
You're the first person ever that got Tyler to change the business name.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Everything else is Pro Caliber.
Not the clothing.
Oh no.
Tough.
Extra. That one.
Pacer said, I'm gonna make a shirt for you, and it's just an extra large tag.
Yeah.
He thinks it's so funny.
I think it's so good. You'll see when it comes out.
Maybe I can make a hat for you.
Yeah. Extra small.
Has everyone ever told you look like Zach Bryan?
That's sure. I'll take that.
Yeah, I was thinking from the eyebrows up.
Nice. Nice one.
Okay. We can wrap
Today,
this thing
Delbs
up.
tripped walking. He just tripped.
Getting out of the truck, curb, didn't see it. Struggling.
Shit. Yeah.
Maybe you need the goggles.
Sorry, we didn't allow you to give
Yeah,
your full
sorry.
plug.
We just went full.
Yeah, that was
Started hating
You
on
plugged
it.
the performance center and then
I coach at the performance center, so come on down. Link is in my bio, I'm pretty sure. So
maybe check after.
And
Yeah,
Helix Lacrosse Club.
maybe I
Helix
should
Lacrosse
write that
Club.
down. Helix Lacrosse Club. Oh my god, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, fair. Okay. That's a
We're doing an open house
Oh yeah.
June 22nd. Next Sunday. June 22nd. Next Sunday. Come check us out. We'll be here answering all things PCL, Helix Lacrosse Club, giving away some stuff.
Do you want me here as well?
Sure. Hardest shot contest. You can do like narration of the hardest shot contest. That would be electric. But yeah, hopefully we see you guys there. And I'll pass it on to Tino. Back to you, buddy.
Jesus, don't buddy me.
Pal. You're not my buddy.
My
guy.
All right. Well, Megan, thanks for coming by for another episode of Morning Shootaround. Long day. Yeah. Thanks to everyone else for joining us for another one. Ty, I'm sorry you got a long one to edit here. I will work on making these an hour flat going forward. And for everybody else, as usual, we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.